So just we were talking about the characteristics of the Lucan Gospel. We have covered very little because of our discussions last maybe 3 weeks. One thing we had discussed about universalism. Another thing we discussed about the concept of, I think, the Messiah and those things. Okay, some of the things just we go very fast and then go with the content of the gospel. So there is an emphasis on prayer in the Luke's gospel. There is always an emphasis on prayer. That's why Jesus starts his public ministry by prayer and fasting 40 days. 40 days Jesus praying in the desert, fasting and praying. Or we can verify any time when Jesus is engaged, so he goes for prayer. For example, when before the election of the 12 apostles, so he went for prayer. Or even imagine, just before he entered into the final stage of his life, the passion, death and resurrection. So he went for prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane. So there are several instances on prayer. So Luke gives an important place of prayer in the gospel. Another thing is Luke says the joy, the announcement of joy, he says good news. Good news. The word gospel itself means good news. Good news. Okay? The gospel. That word gospel means the proclamation of good news.
And that is emphasized in Luke?
Yeah, that is, Luke says whenever there is a joy, when there is a proclamation of joy, he says the good news. He uses the phrase good news. So, not simply say, okay, they were glad or they were happy, but they say good news, something like good news. So there is an interesting fact of, so he says mostly about, this concept of good news. Then again, another thing is, the Gospel of Luke could be said the Gospel of poor. Because whenever there is a chance for bringing an emphasis on poor or poverty, Luke does it. So Luke is more concerned about the poor people, the oppressed, and deliverance or salvation or freedom of the poor.
So
okay?
There's emphasis on the Gentiles, Father?
That's not exactly Gentiles, but it's poverty. Poverty could be seen in Gentile population, Jews everywhere. Okay. That has no racism. The poverty has no racism at all, no? But maybe poverty could be seen more in Gentiles because there were more. Gentiles were more. But anywhere. But he speaks more about, he has a kind of likeness to speak about the proclamation of good news to the poor. For example, what we can say, the poor will be, happy. Blessed are the poor, because theirs is the kingdom of God. So, poverty or the poor people are extolled in the Gospel of Luke. While, that is important to note, in Jewish religion, poverty was always looked down. Poverty was considered to be always something which is a curse. Because of my forefathers sinned, God punishes through poverty, through sickness, or misfortunes, something like that. But Luke turns out, changes that attitude. Poverty is a blessing. Like, we have to, I think this is something I just want to turn your attention about the discussion about poverty. Is really poverty a blessing? That's my question.
No, it's not.
What do you say, whenever, the priests preach in the churches, sometimes they say the poverty is a blessing, no?
Well, I think that maybe the poor people sometimes work themselves up to a higher, when it's a blessing for them because they learn, things from the poverty.
Yeah.
I know wealth can be a burden. Yeah. No, I mean,
Yeah.
these guys that are like billionaires, I mean, they can't go out and get a hamburger. I mean, they're constantly under threat. They're under, and I remember one thing during the height of Standard Oil. Rockefeller's accountant came into him and said, "You have got to find a way to get rid of some of this money or your wealth will crush you." It was just so massive.
There's different ways to be poor too. Health,
Spirit.
yeah, spirit.
But here, for example, when it says poor means almost like money, and who are oppressed, who are really suffering from what's called the absence of the means of sustenance. Really, poverty, and in the church, especially in theology, in spirituality, there was a misunderstanding. And Jesus said, "Blessed are poor, because theirs is the kingdom of God." So there was really, Jesus speaking about poverty, blessed are the poor. And that is one of the first, what's called the beatitude, starting with that. The beatitude starting with this proclamation, blessed are the poor, because theirs is the kingdom of God. And many times, especially in during the Middle Ages, the poverty that was emphasized was just money. And it really, misunderstood. This was misunderstood because not only poverty means what should be, I think a balanced view of seeing poverty should be like this. The Catholic Church should not promote poverty. Can we promote poverty? No. If Jesus says, "Blessed are the poor," okay, can we make, because the poverty, you will become blessed. So can the Catholic Church promote poverty because of that? No. Poverty is always what's called a privation, Poverty is a privation. I don't say curse, but it is privation. So we cannot simply promote poverty. So then, what is the meaning of idea of poverty then? What do you think about?
St. Francis of Assisi and the idea of we're always working for money, we don't have much time to think about God. We're busy about getting more money. So God can come later when I'm old and I retire.
I think just by some kind of reflection on that, maybe we can have a little more deeper understanding. I think poverty here means, for example, something privation. I said, anything could be a privation.
What do you mean by privation?
That means, absence.
The lack of.
The lack. Okay. Here comes, when you are rich. Richness could be not only money. Anything could be a richness. No? whatever you have in abundance is called richness. No? The rich. And when you feel, I am rich, that means you are satisfied, or what do we call, you are filled. No? You are full of. You are filled in. Okay? Then there is a problem in our in our attitude. That means I'm full means I don't depend on anyone. I am what's called self-sufficient, independent. No? That leads another problem. What is it? There is no God. There is no need of God. No?
I do yourself.
Yes, I'm great.
The ego.
Yeah, I am full. I am happy, or anything, whatever. So that leads, a negation. I don't say negation. They don't negate or they don't deny, but they don't feel the need of God. In the place of God, what comes in them now? Something, not only money, whatever. The rich means need not be what's called the money. So when you feel that, then instead of God, if something replaces the idea of God in your mind, and that can be, that could be monstrous. That's why Jesus says, blessed are the poor, means you feel the need of God. You feel the need of God. Whatever, for example, money. If I don't have, the money, then usually oh my God, please help me to find something. If you don't have help, you praying God, please help me. Find out, some way of healing. If you have like that, some kind of vacuum or something leads you to always depend on God. And suppose, that's why Jesus says, blessed are the poor in spirit. You may have, for example, so much of money, but if you feel that, oh God, I depend everything for you, and keep that money, means, that is called the poverty in spirit. There are people, there can be people like that.
There is people like that. Think of Job, J-O-B in the Bible.
Yes, Job like that, no? He had everything. Whenever he had everything, he was depending on God.
He knew where he came from.
And whenever everything lost, then he depended on God. And that is the man he was rich because he had the what's called the most valuable richness. What is it? God.
Faith.
If you don't have that great treasure, God, then you are lost. That is true, it is man's behavior. When you have a vacuum, you fill in it something. In this case, suppose a poor man, in our sense, having no money, but can be rich and without God. So, the poverty in spirit does not necessarily mean money. Suppose, if suppose somebody feeling that I'm so beautiful, for example, and I adore like Narcissus, no? And I feel that I'm so good, and even I don't depend on anything, if I feel more dependent on what I have, and that is called he's a rich man or rich girl. And that is the idea of poverty in the gospel. But sometimes this was not really understood, and during maybe the Middle Ages time, it was mostly understood by what's called the poverty, means the absence of money. And when you have money, that means you are rich. Then always church, on one side, that was the dichotomy during the time of Middle Ages. On one side, the bishops and the priests who were living in all conveniences and advocating poverty, people who were living on the other side, that means the other part of that community, were totally suffering. And they extolled suffering, of course. This is God-given blessing. That's not true. Poverty is not a blessing, exactly, no. Poverty is something to be eradicated from the world.
Very good, Father.
Any kind of poverty, it should be eradicated. We should not extol, yeah, you are poor, that's very good. Nice. That's not nice. No? It's not nice. But suppose, like St. Francis Assisi, if I opt for poverty, why? Because of some reason, higher reason, and that is extolled, should be. I am willingly accepting a life of poverty. Why? Because I have God as the greatest rich. And because of that, I opt for this kind of life so that many others may not live in poverty.
Well, he had an option.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had enough.
Yes.
And that is what we call heroism, no? Heroism. Because I opt for poverty, because of my poor life, many people become rich or become not poor. If I advocate poverty is good, and if I make you poor, that is a curse. That's not a blessing. Do you get the point? Mm-hmm. So please don't, we, the Catholic Church, and at least, between at least the Protestants and Catholics, there is this subtle difference. Because when you have Catholics, you extol at least the Protestants, they have a mentality that the Catholics extol poverty and promote poverty. And you see, if you watch very carefully, it's true almost. The Catholic community is poorer than the Protestants. If you take communally, it's a community-wise. Because they have an idea, the richness is is a sign that God bless you. Therefore, you have to show that. You have to become rich. You have to become rich. So as we always say, the Catholics, okay, the poverty, that's okay, no problem. God's blessing is that.
So for the Jewish, it's still the same?
Jewish is much more. They always consider if you are poor, it's a curse from. That is the message, in the book of Job.
And the positive side of that is wealth is a sign.
Yeah.
Wealth is a sign that you served well. That you
Yeah.
serve someone well, that you serve God well.
Yeah, that's why you are, blessed with richness, because you serve God, and therefore He is blessing you. And I think most of the Protestants, have promoted that idea, and the Catholics always promoted, at least in my, especially the priests preaching like this, poverty is good. And we have, a kind of, I don't know whether it's true, a kind of a fatalism, no?
Do all priests take a vow of poverty?
Yeah, that means in the priest means there is a difference, the vow and the promise. If you are a diocesan priest, you take 3 promises. That means not a vow like a religious priest does. That means, but in practice it has no difference. All the priests take 3 promises like chastity, poverty, and obedience. Because and in India, of course, in my place, of course, these priests everywhere in the Catholic Church, take these 3 vows. Okay, this is anyway just a digression, I would say. Do you know that is digression? No, digression.
Diversion.
Yeah, diversion. Yeah. So, of all these 3 vows, which is the most difficult to follow? I'm a priest, I have the promise, the 3. So of all these 3, which would be the most difficult to, to practice? Poverty, obedience, and chastity.
Obedience. Because that follows all of us. And the others are dependent on that.
You obey, you do the other 2. So you obey.
May not be.
When you say chastity.
Yeah, that's true. No. The first one is always obedience, the problem. Why?
Because naturally, sometimes you try to go your own way.
Why the obedience is most difficult?
I'm always right and the bishop's wrong and I want to do it my way.
Not bad, no. Because obedience demands a total denial of yourself.
The opposite of what I said, right? I'm right all the time, the bishop's wrong.
Yeah, but in a total denial of yourself. That means you may have your own views or your own way of thinking, and some superiors comes and says, no, do this. And to do that, that's what we call a total denial. Even if in small cases, but it's not very easy.
Father.
Yeah.
Well, the Our Father, your will be done.
Yeah.
And came up with a good system. We say, Our Father, your will be done, but let me give you a few suggestions.
That can be, that's okay. We can have some suggestions. That's even God, Father, your will be done. But let me give some suggestions. And still He says, you do this, okay. If that's okay.
That's obedience.
I don't know, but this way, if you pray like this, oh, thy will be done according to my will, then okay.
But you're not going to jump off a cliff, are you? It says jump off a cliff, you won't go that far.
Yeah, okay. That is. So, the second most difficult one, what is? It's chastity. Not because the sex problems or those things, but there is something else.
In the mind, I look at the woman and I lust, but I don't do it physically.
That's not exactly, that's a kind of course, physically there is, the sexual urge and, I control this and that, and that's not exactly, even if, about the poverty, I was speaking not simply the poverty, the materially, or the physical poverty I was talking, no, about obedience, the obedience is mostly, as I said philosophically or mentally, it's a kind of a denial of yourself, no? That's something different. Like that. There is something. Yeah?
You told us the last time
Yeah.
that you give up reproducing the generation going on.
Look, for example, you by accepting what we call chastity, that means you decide that your existence is over in this world.
No descendants.
No, this is
No descendants. So I am what's called the succession of my father, or forefathers. They are living through me, no?
the last of that generation.
And I don't live anymore. But my father lives again because I have my brothers and sisters and those people. And when I decide to become a priest, my existence is over.
Wow.
That's why I heard that oftentimes the chastity is more difficult, not for the young priests, but for the priests approaching middle age. I mean, because of that very point, they realize that.
That's the thing, there are two psychological points there. For example, when a priest becomes or nun or anyone becomes as young, priests usually they are ordained by canon law. The law is at least they should complete 25 years. Before that they won't be ordained. So at least 25 years you should have to get ordained as a priest. That means very strong, no? In their and once a priest is get ordained, and they have all the enthusiasm, no? That means, I just want to become a priest. Why? Because of love for Jesus, and I want to convert the whole world. No? I just want to, preach the gospel, do this and that and everything because of the beginning enthusiasm is so great, and this. At that time when the bishop says, when the junior priest, oh Father, do this, he does it. Whatever the consequences, whatever the difficulties, no problem. For obedience or chastity, even poverty, the younger priests are much more. Because of their enthusiasm, because they just became priests, because they were so amazing, they love the life of priests, and then they have an ideal to be fulfilled. That's one point. Second aspect is when they go on, and mentally also they are very, very strong. Mentally they are very strong because they are very youngsters, bodily and mentally strong. When they approach middle ages, for example, or after 40s, what is the real problem then comes? So priest becomes, for example, let us take a priest, somebody became priest in their 30s. After 10 years they worked everything. Now they realize, I don't convert anyone. I try my best, and then I see that, I don't convert anyone. And my mind and body, become more and more weaker. Then comes, again the problem of chastity. That means not simply what he wants with the body. No, it is the mind. What is the meaning of chest? And my existence is going to be over. And I am what's after all this? They begin to think more and more. Then they question their identity as a priest. If really somebody is not really anchored in their vocation, here comes real difficulty during their 40s.
Is that when most priests
leave?
That's when priests leave at right about that age?
Yeah, it's 35, 45. That is we call the middle age crisis period. And I am over, no problem. But I don't promise.
But that's self-love.
Eh?
A lot of this is self-love.
And this is, everybody. That is the same thing, for example. That's the same thing you experience in your family life, no? When you are married. When you were married. That was, at least, You just imagine the dating period. Oh, that was the most beautiful, no? Yes.
Absolutely.
Because during the dating time, no, both of them did not know what was the bad side of each guy, no? I always projected the best side. And therefore, that was the best time. When you married, then began to show some of them, the beginning. Then as the years pass by, more and more, what you see is bad sides.
The real you.
They began to see more and more the bad sides of each other.
Father, how do you know so much? That's the truth.
And but you see, here comes if
All the confession.
no, if this goes, that's the real life for everyone. Then if you go, these bad sides only, without really understanding the real meaning of love between each other, you break up. If you don't break up, and if you try to be more realistic and more loving and want to be a family, then starts the real life of the family. That means then the sex becomes not the primary thing. It's only what's called a sign of your love. Not simply just live for sex. Maybe in the beginning of your life, the family or married life, sex could be the very, very powerful motive. But as we age, it becomes what we call, I don't say it's a routine, no, but I would say it's a sign of our love, of our give and take, our sharing. That has, if you don't go to that level, then there is no more family life exactly. You live together, that's all. But if you reach that what's called that stage, then here is the beautiful life begins, the real life, beautiful. Then that is, it's not simply, it's the sum total of your, sharing and everything. Then it comes everything there. So it starts almost like during Middle Ages, and that we call second honeymoon. If you don't go through this second honeymoon, your real family life is not enjoyable, I would say.
Yeah. There was a classic television show called All in the Family. It was about middle-aged Edith and Archie Bunker. They had some relatives that were coming to visit. Of course, the two women go to the kitchen, and her relative tells her that they're getting a divorce. And she goes, Edith, what's the secret to you and Archie's marriage? I mean, what are you doing right in the bedroom? Do you see skyrockets and pinwheels like the 4th of July? And she goes, well, with me and Archie, it's more like Thanksgiving.
So, what I say, just want to say, I was talking about these things, because of the vow of, somebody asked, about vow of chastity. And I consider easily the vow of poverty is freedom. Poverty is freedom. Why? Poverty is freedom. Suppose you are not so much tied up with riches and money and things like that. You really enjoy freedom. Suppose as a priest, let me take. Of course, I will never starve to death. As much as I am a priest, I am taken care of by the church. That means I am paid. Of course, it's not a big money.
But it's enough.
It's enough and more.
Oh, and more fun?
enough and more?
Well, that's why as you are, if you are not tied up with money, it's enough and more to live. If you don't want to, for example, if you don't want to accumulate money, if you have a dream, okay, by the age of 50, when I become 50, I should have $1 million. Then it's not enough for you. Or if you feel, okay, what I get, I have enough money, that means, I have this, my case is taken care of by the church, and I don't expect more things, okay, I have a car, I have all those things, what I need. Then if you want to have more and more, if you have that attitude, then you are already a slave to that. Then you are never satisfied. You are never satisfied. But if you are content, happy with what you have, then it's a freedom. But after all, for tomorrow, I don't need to think more about money matters for tomorrow. Because but after all, tomorrow I will have in my church, for example, what they pay is, $1,500. That's my monthly payment. So, with that,
Well, you have your housing and your food.
Yeah.
You have taken care of all your basic needs.
yes. And if you need more, that's a problem. That is the thing. Then you are not free. Okay, if I feel that house, where I'm living, that's not a very pretty house, big house, no. That was a church's office. That was. It had a church's office. Then behind there was a small room, it's a room for a priest to, rest. Then there were air-conditioned room, So we all took these 3 rooms, the office rooms. It is, even now, my living room and office rooms are the same. Then there is the part of where the priest, at that time, just wanted to, if he has to rest, that is my bedroom. The air-conditioned room, that they had a big air-conditioned, and we knocked down everything, and now it's a kitchen. That's my what's called the living quarters. If you feel, no, that's not very good, I don't have a dishwasher there. I just wash with my hand. There's no problem for me. If I feel, no, that's not very good, that's not very good, and I want to, then, you are not satisfied. Then you are not happy with that. Then you are not free, That's why if you really feel that you are satisfied with what you have, then it is a freedom. It's not so. If you really think, what you have is enough, then it is a freedom. Of course, the freedom what we enjoy need not be yours, because you have many other financial liabilities like your kids, and there are so many things. If you lose your job, then it's lost. As a Catholic priest, as long as you are a priest, you never lose your job. No?
That's true. It's a vocation, Father. It's not a job, I think.
No, that's why, if it is in the case of money, what I'm saying, about, we are talking about the wealth. So that's why poverty, if you take it in its real sense, in the spiritual sense, it is really a freedom, enjoying freedom. And you don't care about multiplying money for tomorrow. What I can do, I have this month 1,500. Next month, how can I multiply it to 3,000? I don't need to calculate these things and work for that. If you are truly, what we call, accept poverty. That's why I say again and again, poverty is freedom. No? And the priest, but I want to say, in India, we take all these vows. Or, for the diocesan priest it is a promise. We don't exactly take vow, but it's the same in practice. And our people take the fourth, our people there, they take the fourth vow, that the priest keep all these three.
One of the things the Protestants will point to is like this bishop in Germany. That was the
bishop in Limburg. Yeah.
And they talk about everything you said about poverty, and then they look at this guy.
Yeah. Martha, you don't understand that? Okay. I don't know whether the people are very sensitive in our place, and they can, just come in and then just talk and then, just make fuss of everything, people are not like here. No. Suppose, if I talk with this lady, for example, 3 times a day, then people begin to say, there is something wrong.
It's time to gossip, Father.
Yeah, not only gossip, and then, really, gossip is everywhere. Here also. I don't deny that, suppose, Father Louis speak, oftentimes to 1 or 2 girls, or, people start gossiping, that's true. But in our place it is terribly, not only that, they can question, and, they can even, we don't have, in our culture, we don't have real mercy, what we call, priests, they consider, should be perfect 100%. And suppose you do something, could be, he is also is a man, human being, but never consider that part.
How interesting.
Yeah,
so
and
very strict.
Very strict means that's very hard. That's why I say the people take the fourth vow, that the priest, they take the vow of watching, and that priests do all these 3. So he's asking what is the 4th one. That's not for the priest, that's for the people. That means the people, the faithful, the people, they take the vow of watching, that all the priests take these, seriously these 3 vows and keep it.
So you guys live in a glass, Father. Everybody's watching. It's such a delicate role and function you all have in India.
No, that's really. For example, there are so many things. For example, if you drink a beer, then you are a sinner. If you drink alcohol, you are already lost. Suppose if there is a priest in a parish, he drinks alcohol, and it is noticed by the people, they will, what they do, they will forcefully take this priest to the bishop, then say, okay, bishop, you have given us a gift, you take it back.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Sure.
That's a very... How many can be priests over there, Father?
And there are so many now. We have enough priests. So that's very, 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 very hard. And that mentality even now continues in our community. You know that. Suppose we are in, suppose if Father Louis come with you in the restaurant, and if he takes beer or wine, do you consider that's a bad thing? No.
Depends how many he takes.
You're right.
How about
you don't want to be...
Even that smoking too.
smoking too?
Yeah. So, but suppose if I go for a birthday party in a house, if I take a glass of beer, no, people never accept that in our community, in Indian community.
automatically you become a drunk or what?
No, that's why, it's true that when I come to now it's 1 year. I completed 1 year now, today. Tomorrow is the 1st June. So I came last year, 1st June, and I took charge of it. Until now, I can, declare that I never tasted beer or wine or any alcohol. Until now.
Wow.
Of course, I don't feel, I'm not used to that, and I don't feel that urge of taking anything like that. But those people there in their house, that is interesting.
It's a double standard.
They, for example, for all their, almost all, in every, I don't say all the houses, there are houses, they don't keep, they don't keep it. But in all their houses, they keep their alcohol, they will, just like as you, they will keep their bar, but, not open. If a priest is participating in that party, then the bar is not open. That could be in the garage or in garden, in the darkness, and then go. Those who want to, go there. Those who want to take it, go there and take it and come back. Or at least that much reverence is given to priests. They don't, expose it, public.
Well, how do they interpret then the wedding of Cana? That where Jesus Christ, where he was surrounded with
the converted
wine.
And because there it is, because that was the that was the culture of the place, no?
Yes.
But in our culture, the alcohol is considered to be taboo.
The people can drink it, sort of, but not the priest. He's perfect. See, Jesus didn't get drunk that night. He only left wine for the other people at the party.
Let's face it, the community took the vow to watch.
Well, would you think Jesus might have had one glass of wine? Maybe?
Might have taken, Jesus should have taken wine, of course, because that was.
We're doing it in the Last Supper.
Right. He didn't have the wine to do that.
The only thing is that
Everything was wine.
but that doesn't mean our people in our place nobody drinks. No, in all of India, maybe our state, Kerala, where I'm coming from, the mostly Christians, that state could be second or third in the alcohol consumption.
Really? So everything is...
So it's hypocritical then.
Yeah, it's very
The
clear.
Baptists, they're against alcohol, I think, but at the house it's okay. But we can't go out and drink and see other Baptists drinking alcohol. That's what I understand.
Unless you bought the card in dry counties that are owned by Baptists, if you buy you pay for the privilege of
Membership, yeah.
So double standard, see? So we hold the priest to a much higher standard because he's
Yeah, that's the thing mainly.
representative. He can't drink, dude.
And that means, that what I say, this is a kind of, I was just talking about poverty and all those. It's a kind of, but still, these are, good things. And, of course, they consider priests as a very high standard. That's why, suppose in a community, if a priest says something, it has a value, of course. And he says, that should be done like that, it will be done by the community because the people accept his moral authority.
Right.
That's the thing, because the people accept the moral authority of a priest, so the people expect that kind of integrity from the part of priests. So they don't tolerate. One side they say we are, they are people of divine, not the what's called. One side, when the people accept priest as someone divine, means and when priests say, yeah, I did all those because I am human, so they don't accept that, those days. So So it's really very demanding, of course. Demanding.
So y'all have a lot of priests in India.
Of course.
How many leave the priesthood because of this? You must have a lot leaving because it's so demanding.
No, not so much, No.
Because you know what you are getting.
Yeah, that's why, it's all those things, we know that these are the standards. And we give, in the seminary training is also very rigorous. Don't think seminary in India, our training is very easy, It's very, very rigorous. At least, it is now 11 years of training, preparation, from 2015 onward, that means next year onwards, it's going to be 13 years. 2 more years now added.
From the time you start,
almost like 12, 13 years now going to be under formation. And if you are going to be the next, maybe your all ordination is fixed, everything is ready, but if you found something wrong, you could be easily sent out, even after 13 years of training.
Wow. Father, what age do you begin?
I became
your training on average of what
it was 14.
14 years old?
14.
Oh, 15, 15 yeah. I became a priest 25 and a half. 15 and a half I started.
Wow.
So now,
10 years.
Now if you start at the same age,
now it's going to be more.
It's going to be more.
Yeah, nobody is going to be ordained priest in 25 years or 25, 26, 27 and on. So they will ordain priest. And, for example, the candidates when they're in the seminary, they are never allowed to use a mobile phone.
Oh, what?
A cell phone, it's denied. They are not allowed. No cell phones in the seminary. If you are found out using a cell phone, that's enough. You are sent out immediately.
Obedience.
Yeah.
You are dismissed. So there are about 5. There are so many rules. But if you are found out to be 5, what's called rules, breaching these 5 rules, you are immediately sent out, dismissed without any further investigation. One is, for example, sexual issues, whether it is hetero or homo or anything. Found out to be somewhere something about sexual issues. Second, alcohol issues. Anywhere during this period. Wandering when you are found out to be.
Touching a bottle.
Yeah.
You said that beer and alcohol aren't in the Indian culture. How about wine at the masses, though? Do they have wine at the masses?
We are using the blood of Christ, not the wine.
Yeah.
Okay.
The parishioners take the wine.
And we don't have wine there, so much of growing wine there, no. We don't have. It tastes like wine, but it's the blood of Christ. And so that's alcohol. Third one, for example, if you have physically assaulting anyone.
Aggressive.
If you physically assault anyone. Violence. Fourth one, dishonesty in the sense, especially during exams. Cheating, no? Mm-hmm. What we call copying or cheating, what do we call?
Cheating.
That, in the examination, not only that, dishonesty. Proved to be, real dishonesty. And especially during examination. The last one is cell phone.
Cell phone.
So these are the 5. That's a new rule. Before it was something else, and that was cancelled now.
You couldn't have TV?
We have TV there, not personal.
Right, yeah.
Before.
There in the there is somewhere in the recreation hall there is a TV. You can come and look at the TV when there are times. Permission in there. You have that time for watching TV.
You don't get
We don't get For example, after what we look usually when the kids are watching TV, that is after during the night recreation. That is 8 o'clock we have our dinner. 8 o'clock night. Then it lasts for about 20 minutes. But during that time, at least 2 or 3 times that's a time for, of course, we have either recreation or someone preaching. It's a practice given.
Yeah.
Not for anything, more to hear, but, the one who preaches. So, somebody will be preaching when the other people eating. Nobody pay attention, but, But the one who is preaching, 5 minutes or 10 minutes of preaching, that gives that person, a training. Public speaking. So, and after that, 8:20 we are done. 20 minutes of dinner, that's all. It goes so quick because then after that they will have time for recreation. Usually you can walk and you can do whatever you want, there's a time for from 8:20 up to 9 o'clock is the time for TV. So you can go and watch TV. So seminary has put, in my seminary that I was teaching from 8:40, it's time fixed for news, English news from BBC or from CNN or something like that. So up to that time, it's whatever channel you want they can put. They fix on one channel and or this or that. When 8:40, all exit because starts news. They are not very much interested in that, so they go for walking and something like that. Until that, maybe dancing or music or some kind of.
Like basketball.
Yeah, that's another time. That is 4 to 6.
Cricket.
Yeah, we don't have cricket in of course we have, but that's not in seminary. The most popular one is basketball, then soccer, then volleyball, then badminton. These are them. Okay, my God, today we were talking about these things, seminary things.
Wait. 8 o'clock, Father.
Oh! 8:01. Anyway, interesting talk about something. Okay, what I want to say, specify at least one thing. We have to be very clear. That poverty doesn't mean the blessed are the poor in spirit. We have to be I had always problem understanding not understanding this way poverty. If you are say, what do you mean by blessed are poor in spirit? What do you mean by that? And this is the meaning. In spirit means if that whenever you are poor, you feel God is your treasure. And if you place anything that place except God, then that is a breach of first commandment, Idolatry.
Repeat that again.
That is that's why my treasure is God. That's the first place. If you place anything except God there, if it is money, if it is power, if it is influence, if it is your beauty, if it is our lust or anything that plays the number one in your life, then you are doing what's called breaching the first commandment. I am the one God, the God, no? So that means that is idolatry. What do you mean by idolatry? Making
desire for money,
something
for one thing.
you put as in the place of God. That's why there's a blessed are poor in spirit, because you are deprived of these things and God takes the first place. Of course, all other material things, what you have, you need. You should have it. And if God occupies the first place in your life, then everything has its place, proper place. Then you cannot, if God is first place in your life, you cannot go cheating other people to get money. You cannot kill anyone to get money. You cannot go against the law, what's called, That's why when God is first place in your life, then everything is okay. If not, everything is not okay. That is the meaning of poverty in spirit. And Luke emphasizes that everywhere. Many times, we can see much more than any gospel. Luke emphasizes that poverty, because then God becomes the treasure in your life. The first place, occupies the first place in your life. Okay? That's a very, beautiful, that beautiful spirit, interpretation of the poverty. We have to understand poverty in that way. Not simply the poverty in a material way, or poverty, poverty. We cannot do that. We cannot. And if you can become an instrument, even by receiving poverty, life of poverty,